and welcome to PC Talks Politics. I'm your host, Matthew Henry Smith. Today, we're bringing you coverage of Politically Confused, a campus ministry-sponsored event which connects a panel of educators with the Providence College community to discuss the Catholic Church's opinions on politics. Today's panel features Professor Nicholas of the Philosophy Department, Professor Kuhlman of the Theology Department, and Father Petrie, also of the Theology Department. The panel started off by discussing healthcare.
There are cases of children dying in the U.S. of asthma. That's just not acceptable.
We know, for example, that there is a positive right inherent in human dignity that people get the care that they need and that they deserve as human persons.
So you can see how easily we're gonna move beyond the question of how many immunization shots you got. Not that we won't consider that, but other factors that have to do with what you think a human being is.
They then moved on to the topic of immigration and border security.
Every person, because of their basic human dignity, has a right and deserves to be welcomed.
To what extent are they going to turn back to a teaching of the church that's not easy?
Remember that each wave of Catholics that came over, the Irish and the Italians, they were classified as black when they first came over, right? So there's issues of racism that go along with issues of migration that we see being spelled out today.
The panel then took a pivotal shift to the topic of personhood and the right to life.
Regardless of their politics, regardless of their partisanship, regardless of what they've convinced themselves to think, that their own life is unique. And their own life was unique when they were in their mother's womb.
Is not simply that it is hypothetically a grave evil, but it is the way in which increasingly abortion actually exists on the ground in the U.S., which is in tremendous number.
When a Catholic does not share a candidate's stand in favor of abortion and/or euthanasia, but votes for that candidate for other reasons, it is considered remote material cooperation, which can be permitted in the presence of proportionate reasons.
As if you vote in favor of this candidate precisely for that reason, then you are what he calls formally cooperating with evil, which means you agree with murdering life in the womb.
Refreshingly, the panel looked at environmental issues through the lens of respect to life.
God created the earth as good. And whenever we try to dominate any part of that earth, we also dominate ourselves.
Why would you have one political party who seemed to respect life in one way and not in another? And the answer to that question is because neither one of these political parties is formed at its foundation by a commitment to the teachings that we're describing here.
It was commonly agreed that the highlight of the night were the questions asked by students in the audience.
What would you say to someone who is a Catholic and believes that life starts at conception, but thinks that this is a religious belief that they can't impose on all Americans?
Take the word religious out and just say it even more broadly. The notion of sort of value-free government policy is nonsense.
And how do you see a candidate such as, I guess, George W. Bush in 2000, who was pro-life in terms of abortion? However, he was a governor of a state that had the highest death penalty.
I'm afraid the basic question is in an extremely conflicted way, and I don't know how else you could possibly think about it. There's lots and lots of things that you can come to understand and ways that you can educate yourself, which if I haven't said it strongly enough, I'm urging you to do that. I think if it seems complicated in this election, it's only going to get worse. That's my prediction.
Well, that concludes this week's segment of PC Talks Politics. Join us next time for our continued coverage of the 2012 presidential election. This is Matthew Henry Smith, signing off.